This is the end of a day, folks. Shipping Explorer. As the sun goes down, it's beautiful, and the trees are blocking it a little bit, but it shows that it's a closing of another day, a full day's experience. When we have gotten this day, and we have hopefully did something wonderful. We have personally done some cleaning, and we have done some reorganizing in the house, and we are ready to go and take a rest. And that we're saying we're thankful for another day. We weren't able to show the sun this morning, but we're showing it as it goes beyond the western shore. Now, tonight continues a new experience, and then tomorrow we look forward to the new day. But Shipping Explorer is saying welcome to this station. Always trust that you're doing well, and if you're not, we are wishing you all the best. If you like these tapes, like, share, and subscribe, because we're talking about life's situation. We're talking about genealogy. We're talking about situations that we confront as we go along, and we bring them to you. So some of them are thought-provoking. So later on, we'll be talking about another tape that's coming up. We want to preempt you on this tape. It's 400 years of African Americans' experience in this country, and so that's coming up, and it's going to be a short tape, but it's may jog some mind and jog some conscience. It may make some people upset, make some people feel good about what we have achieved as in such a long time, and be mindful of all the struggles that we have had. So as the day ends, we look forward to a new day in the morning. So see you soon as we bring you new clippings and new videos of life now in College Park. We look over the window, the railing, down to the river. Well, you never can get rid from Shipping Explorer, folks. Every day I'm doing something new. Tonight, I'm actually preparing. We have what we call in America African American Black History Month. Not African American, but I think it's Black History Month. And the church is celebrating this festive. It's not a festive thing. It's a remembrance of the greatness and the struggles that African America has faced in 400 years. And this in the month of February, this is coming up. And what we are going to do at church is celebrate every Sunday the fact that African Americans have been here for 400 years, from the beginning of the history of the European coming of this country. It's the first ship that came in this country. African Americans were on it, at least one or two. And then by 1619 or 16, yes, 1619, then another group of people came. Now, after that, some of them came as indentured, but somewhere along the line, the Catholic Church, I don't know, Pope sanctioned the right for Europeans to venture into Africa and bring or enslaved African Americans. And ever since, they have been coming here in the United States, United States of America. First, the first 13 colonies, and then now the United States of America. So by by the end of slavery, 1864, 1865, when they had the Great War, not the War of Independence, but the Civil War, when the slaves were freed and they started to venture off the plantation and into the different various parts of this country. But what we are doing, instead of just doing the civil rights movement this year, we're going to be doing 400 years of history. And the first week is going to talk about the coming of a ship. So my task is to project one of the ships that came to the United States, and this is a slave ship. And what I've done to get the picture projected on the screen, I've printed a slave ship, and then I use a light to project through. Then I cut the outside out, and then I project a light. What I used was a projection lamp, not this one, but you can see that as when I project the light through that, it projects an image onto the cloth. So basically, I now have the outline of a ship, and this ship, I'll tell you the name of this ship in a few minutes. Now the house, then I spray painted the outline. Now this ship, I'll eventually put the name of the ship up on the screen for the church members to see, and I think this ship was the I thought I had the name of the ship. Anyway, it's the Maria. Can't probably see it, but it was the Maria Seraphic. Maria Seraphic. It was a slave ship. So I'm giving credit to the people who projected that on the internet, and I'm using the base of that ship to create the image on the cloth. And then what I'll do is paint the beach and all that, and the water, not the beach but the water, and try to get some imagery on the thing. So the African Americans came in from 16 something, and ever since they came in, and they never stopped coming till 1870 something, I think, was one of the last ship that came in. So 16 17, 18 to 200 years of bringing African Americans from the west, chiefly from the west coast of Africa. Now, what they came with, they came with their language and their custom and their music and their energy and their knowledge. And a lot of things you think African Americans slaves when they came. Now the word is former slaves. When they came, you think they were ignorant, but some of them came with their language, and they were able to read and write because a lot of them were Muslims, and they were able to read the Quran and do math and all sorts of things. But the form of slavery, of separating the people from each other, caused you could not have a concrete method of congregating, because you were now separated from mother and father and sister and brother and language, so you couldn't carry on the language. So now, in African American month, instead of just doing, as I said, the civil rights movement, we're going to talk about what the African Americans came with, and we're going to highlight that and make it known that they came not only with their piece of cloth on their body, but they came with a whole culture that, as you see, has reinvigorated and helped to establish the Americas. And so they came with musical instruments and all sorts of things. And this Maria ship, if you go to the African American and Cultural Museum, then you will be engrossed and become knowledgeable with more history. So we're gonna, on that first week, we're gonna talk about let's see if we can if I can show you what we're gonna talk about. So I'm just allowing it's cold, but I'm allowing the fumes to get out of the area. Right. So back with you. Now the main topic, I think, will revolve around the theme is 400 years of diaspora evolution. And the first week we're going to talk about is week 1. We're going to talk about hope and preservation. Perseverance. Second week, we're going to talk about education. Third week, we're going to talk about liberation. And the fourth week, we're talking about freedom. Ideas and actions will come along with that. So, hope, they came, they were captured, and they had a hope of being freed. And how did they preserve their dignity and their knowledge? And how did they serve and survive the ordeal across 3 months at sea in a confined area of just maybe 18 inches from the floor to the space above their heads, chained and in their filth and all sorts of things for such a long time. And then they were taken onto the deck for periodically and washed And then the dead ones were also kept in the dungeon with the life. And then they made it, we have to appreciate the fact that they survived that ordeal. And then they came and they were placed in more chain, and they were separated and sent to different and sold and sent and distributed all over the Americas. First, the eastern part of the country, from Maine straight down to Virginia and Alabama and also that, and then later on they had the Mississippi Valley and also, and then later on they tried to spread the slavery to Texas and I think New Mexico and all that. And that's when the conflict came about, because some people did not want the slaves to go into the new territories, and some wanted it. And so the South decided to fight the North to keep slavery going. And the war was brutal. Brothers fighting against brothers, fathers fighting against sons, and brutality. 600,000 people died in that war, or more, around that figure, to try to keep slavery. But after so many years, they had to be freed. And so now we are celebrating, or we are remembering, or the remembrance of those days from slavery to freedom. Some people say we are not free. Still not free. Because if your mind is not free, then you're not free. And if you're not educated and feel the freedom, you're not free to a certain extent. But on the most part, you're free to reach that stage. You're free to be educated. You're free to live where you are for the most part, where you want to. For the most part, you're free to move from place to place. You're free to marry who you want to marry. So we are commemorating that great period, 400 years, this month in my church, University Christian Church. And so I paint the safe ship to remind the beginning, to start this program around that ship. And in the church sanctuary we'll place instruments and cloth and musical instruments and maybe books or artifacts that came with the slaves. But now the former enslaved, we are free to climb to the top of the ladder with our minds, with our body, with our spirit. So the remembrance starts. See you later. I'll highlight, maybe as I paint this ship or construct this ship on the cloth, something will be revealed in your spirit. Shippity Explorer is always exploring. Like, share, and subscribe. Let's see it again. Even in the dark, you can see the shape of the ship. Here we go. It looks like a ship. All we need to do is finish the painting. Hello there, this is Shippity Explorer. We are starting a series this month for the month of February, which is regarded as the Black History Month, or celebrated as the Black History Month, or African American History Month. But I think it's more called Black History Month. And we're starting a series even at our church to talk about celebrate and commemorate the history. And it's a little over 400 years now that African Americans have been in this country, and but to forget my rambling, we some people will say that who am I to know all these things, and to partake of to tell you what is happening. But it has been a long time, and the experience has been ups and downs, and sometimes violent, and sometimes really sad. If you really get into the experience and the situations that African Americans have come through, really sad, some of it, but some of it has been a big success. In 400 years, the African American has come a long way, and the question is, are we truly free? But I'm starting this series with it'll show the going down of the sun in the west, and then I'll bring in my rambling about African American history and how we're going to celebrate that or commemorate that at church in a 4-part series, 4 weeks of that. But how did we really get there? Some people would like to know. I think some people would like to know. And as a historian, a vlogger, I'm more inclined to be an historian than a vlogger. And I do delve a lot in history. So it's important that I bring you maybe bring you up to date, or bring you some information that you may know that already about the African Americans. I'll bring you some history first. And first I'm going to do 2 short readings from 2 books. And one is from the African American Negro, Whole World Background and New World Experience by Rayford W. Logan. And I'll just show you the cover of the book. Hopefully it comes out. Let me show you that, and I'll bring you that first, and then I'll just bring you another short reading from Henry Louis Gates Jr. 100 amazing facts about the Negro, and then we'll for the next month or next couple series, I'll try to bring facts around the issue. So this is what Rayford Logan and Hervin Cohen said in page 30 of their book. He says the Negro slaves are considered Spaniards and Portuguese who had owned Negro slaves in Europe saw advantages in bringing such slaves to the New World. Negroes could be held for a lifetime of service. Runaway Negro slaves, because of their color, could easily be recognized and recaptured. And since Negroes were regarded as pagans, the usual Christian rules of conduct were thought not to apply in dealings with them. Negroes could be disciplined readily and harshly. rigidly and harshly. Furthermore, there seemed to be no limit to the number of niggers that could be brought from Africa to meet the needs of the European colonists. It was felt, too, that African could be made to adapt to the new life better than could Indians, for in Africa the Negroes' customs and traditions had been those of settled peoples. They were skilled in farming and in the arts and crafts, and in the performance of their tasks, which were necessary for the success of the New World enterprise. The slave trade gradually gained in importance. In 1502, the Spanish governor of the island of Hispaniola was permitted to import a few Christian Negroes born in Spain or Portugal. 8 years later, the King of Spain allowed the colonists to import 250 Negroes to meet the labor shortage. Officially, the trade in men began in 1517 when Bishop Bartolome de las Casas, who had been a missionary to the Indians, proposed that each Spaniard in the Americas be permitted to import 12 Negro slaves. This plan had a threefold purpose. One, to spare the Indians from hardship. Two, to attract more Europeans to the colonies. And three, to provide an adequate labor supply for the colonies. By the middle of the 16th century, approximately 10,000 slaves were being imported each year. The task of actually transporting the slaves to the New World fell to the Portuguese rather than to Spain. In 1493, these two countries had asked the Pope to divide the new lands between them. Spain was granted most of the New World, whereas Portugal received Brazil, Africa, and most of the lands in Asia. Since the agreement prohibited Spain from establishing trading posts in Africa, the Spaniards had to grant traders from other nations the right to bring slaves to their colonies. The contract to bring slaves to Spain's New World colonies, known as the asiento, therefore was sold or granted to another nation. Because Portuguese merchants already had established a foothold in Africa, they were the first to be granted the asiento. The Portuguese in time, however, lost their monopoly over this trade. From the end of the 16th century until the beginning of the 19th century, the African slave trade was dominated in turn by the Dutch, the French, and the English. So you see, that's part of the old background and knowledge that we have come to understand. And that's when we talk about slavery or slaves, we're talking about the whole, not the whole world, but the Americans, and not the 13 colonies. But but today, for this month commemoration, we're talking about the experience in America, so United States of America. And we tend to not, there's a suggestion that you don't use the term the slaves anymore. The former, I think the term is the former enslaved or former incarcerated or something like that, because it shows that they did not enslave themselves. Somebody had to do it. So now the question is, when did the slavery system spread from the Caribbean and South America to the United States mainland? And first it was the first 13 colonies until the the Americas picked up more territory from Mexico and all that. So here is what Louis Gates, Dr. Louis Gates says. And so, who was the first African to arrive in America? Here he says, and it's page 10. The first Africans to arrive in what is now the United States were not the 20 and odd who arrived on slaves in Jamestown, Virginia, from what is now Angola in 1619. As a matter of fact, Africans arrived in North America more than a century before the Mayflower landed at Plymouth Rock in 1620. The first documented African to arrive wasn't even a slave. Juan Garrido was born in West Africa around 1480. He's notarized Probonza, his Sericulum Vitae more or less, dated in 1538, says he moved from Africa to Lisbon, Portugal, stayed in Spain for 7 years, and then, seeking his fortune and perhaps a bit of fame, joined the earliest conquistadors to the New World. All the sworn witnesses to this document affirmed that Garrido was horo, or free, when he arrived in Spain. Sailing from Seville around 1503, he arrived in the island of La Espanola, which is today called Hispaniola, the island on which the Dominican Republic and Haiti reside. He later settled in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Garrido was the first black conquistador. Unlike the other conquistadors, he soon succumbed to the lure of wealth and fame in the New World. He joined Diego Velázquez de Cuellar and the legendary Juan Ponce de Leon in the colonization of Cuba and Puerto Rico, respectively. Then in 1513 he joined De Leon's well-known expedition to Florida in search of the Fountain of Youth, which would bring him to America. In his Probanza, Garrido claimed he had been the first to plant and harvest wheat in the New World. But like the other conquistador, he was no saint. He participated in Hernan Cortes' destruction of the Aztecs Empire, along with 100,000 Tlaxcalan allies. He settled in Mexico City in 1524 for 4 years, then began a gold mining operation with slave labor. He joined Cortes in the 1530s for an expedition into Lower California in search of the mystic Black Amazon. He was awarded for his service to Cortes with land and paid positions. He spent his final years as a Spanish subject back in Mexico City, where he died in the late 1540s. So you see, Garrido was the first black conquistador, first to come to the Americans. So after that, by 1520 now, 1520, but 1620, 1619, 1620, that seems to be the official experience, time when we have another set that came as part of the Jamestown, Virginia expedition. So that's 1620. Even if we take it from 1620, 1620, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 2020, it's 400 years of experience. And um, and sometimes make you want to cry, but it's it has been an ups and downs um, uh, experience as far as I've read and I'm now seeing, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. And today, 2025, in America, African Americans are considered free. We are free to, to have movement, vote, be educated, free speech. We can have our kids. We can marry who we want to marry. We have some drawbacks and some pulls along those lines. But for the most part, I would say that as African Americans, we are free. And we're going to take this series and see how much we can disclose and commemorate and to enlighten everyone of what has taken place since. Some people don't like it, but for the most part, I think it's okay. This is Shippy the Explorer taking on a serious topic. I may be smiling, but the topic is heavy. See you as we go through this series. So, like, share, and subscribe. And so, especially if you subscribe, you will be the first to be informed of the next taping or the next video. So bye for now. This is Shippy the Explorer saying take care of yourself and others and be a blessing to yourself and others. Bye for now. See you soon.